Hardcore.
They're petrified of some kind of backlash. I wanted my money back. It was very disappointing.
Nobody wants a movie about true love. What kind of woman do we want out there seeking true love, Eliana? The outrage.
Every way that Disney changed the story, it changed it for the worse.
They're pretending like Rachel Ziegler is the first of them all when she looks like Lord Farquaad in the film.
The new Disney boss babe, who is Rachel Zegler, the inverse of happy.
So she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
Rachel Zegler, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantata is the only global solution.
Now, I'm guessing that she's not married. I'm guessing that she doesn't have kids. The movie is a complete disaster, by the way.
Have they ever thought about maybe like a little bit of like, I don't know, vulnerability study, opposition research, that sort of thing, before you go and hire some Zoomer who's a lunatic?
So apparently, according to them and according to the writers of Snow White, women can't even want to be in love anymore.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
They spent $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live-action Disney remakes that they've ever had.
And, you know the saying, go woke, get broke, and Disney's going to lose money on this movie. And I believe it only made less than $1 million in China.
Joe Rogan and Bill Maher don't usually agree on much. But when it comes to Rachel Zegler's woke Snow White remake, they're united. This is one of Disney's biggest flops yet. From the moment Disney decided to ditch the prince and romance angle, fans sensed trouble. What was once a beloved fairy tale about innocence and true love became a political statement nobody asked for.
Oh, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
She's not going to be safe with the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love.
Oh my God.
It didn't take long for fans to question whether Zegler even liked the story she was hired to tell. Then old social media posts emerged where she told Trump supporters to go away and never know peace. That wasn't just bold. It was career suicide for someone starring in a family-friendly Disney movie.
She came out and took a large dump on half of the country, everyone who voted for Trump.
But you are not entitled to call for Trump supporters to be harmed. Like, you are actually not entitled to do that. And so let me just remind you, Rachel Zegler, of what the map looks like, just so you can understand when your Disney movie is coming out, how many people you are wishing harm upon. Like, this is America right now. I will love you through these 4 years as best I can. F Donald Trump. Yeah, totally stable thing for her to be posting, wishing harm upon Trump voters, wishing that we have no peace.
President Rachel Zegler also posted, F Trump kinds of posts on social media. She also said that she hoped that Trump supporters, quote, never know peace.
And they postponed the release of this thing, Ben, for a year because their star, Rachel Zegler, was so unlikable, told all Trump supporters that they could off, excuse me, but she did. That was just in November. They didn't even know she was going to do that one.
Zegler didn't hold back. She outright cursed at Trump voters. Donald Trump, she said. Even viewers who weren't Trump, fans felt it went too far. When you're fronting a film meant for families of all backgrounds, alienating half the country doesn't go unnoticed.
And then she came out and she said, I apologize. Like, I went too far. But it wasn't sincere.
Joe Rogan called it exactly what it was. Hollywood's obsession with being woke over actually telling a good story. On his podcast, he slammed the remake for sacrificing entertainment to avoid backlash. Bill Maher echoed that sentiment, calling it an overcorrection that ended up being offensive.
The movie is doing catastrophically. They spent $300 million, and it currently has a 2.2 out of 10 rating on IMDb.
The movie has a major identity crisis.
This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
It's got extra musical numbers that are incredibly unnecessary that really add to that runtime. And let me go ahead and let you know that they're absolutely atrocious.
Disney deleted Someday My Prince Will Come and made a modernized feminist alternative.
I sat through the whole thing. This was really bad. It was extremely leftist on every political dimension: racial politics, sexual politics, class politics, regime politics. Its narrative was cowardly. It was just awful.
They say all you have to do to make your wish come true is let it echo, 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 echo.
It's awful, generic. Never mind that the lyrics make no sense at all. All you have to do to make your dream come true is let it echo. Is it like on a metaphorical level?
Maher mocked Disney's logic, labeling the prince a stalker and erasing the dwarfs to be inclusive. He argued it actually harmed underrepresented actors. Little people lost 7 iconic roles they rarely get. This wasn't progress. It was performative nonsense.
Big bad feminists now are telling us that's ridiculous. How dare you want to meet a handsome prince and be swept off of your feet and live happily ever after? No, you should want to be the prince. You should want to go out and fight the bad guys with a sword.
The film scrapped the original love story entirely. Zegler proudly stated she had no interest in a narrative where a woman dreams about a prince. But the core of Snow White is about love defeating evil. Take that out, and what's left?
No, prince or a different kind of prince? I'm sure a lot of people will assume it's a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yeah. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Both Rogen and Maher agreed. Disney tried to virtue signal and ended up alienating their audience. Zegler's social media rants made it worse. When the lead actress actively insults the viewers, why would anyone pay to watch her?
Because you just can't close your mouth. You just can't be sane, even when you do open your mouth. I think this girl does not deserve a feature-length film, but rather, she deserves to be in a padded cell.
Disney didn't just reimagine the dwarfs, they erased them. Instead, they added CGI magical creatures that looked like a low-budget fantasy game. The decision stripped away the charm and character that made Snow White iconic.
The dwarfs make it or no?
Well, the CGI dwarfs did. Of course, that goes back to the original controversy where Peter Dinklage, a very talented little person actor, said, why are we doing that? We've hired a Latina actress to be Snow White. That's progressive. But you're going to hire little people to play the dwarfs? That just seems like a step backwards. And then, of course, Disney instantly buckled and said, okay, we're going to add magical creatures.
Then they got even crazier and they decided that the dwarves in Snow White weren't woke enough, okay?
When leaked photos hit the internet, fans were shocked. Little person actors were outraged. Those 7 roles would have been career-defining. Instead, Disney gave them digital weirdos no one could connect with.
And then they couldn't put dwarfs, finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarfs want to work. That many scripts that come down the pike.
Only 7 of them.
That has, and there's 7 dwarf jobs here. But because I think it was Peter Dinklage said this is, this is not right.
The numbers tell the real story. A $200 million budget, $150 million projected opening, yet it barely scraped $43 million. Snow White bombed, hard. Merchandise went untouched. Theaters sat empty. Families weren't buying it, literally.
You're replacing jobs that people could have as little people. Okay. Snow White and the 7 dwarfs, it's for dwarfs. You know?
These are roles made for actors of my stature. I can't go out for the Harrison Ford or the George Clooney roles because that's not for me.
Right.
And now it's taken away. I don't feel that's right.
The 7 dwarfs of Snow White have, of course, all just disappeared, and now they're the 7 dysfunctional men.
They couldn't have dwarves. Do you guys remember?
Yeah, because Peter Dinklage and all them were talking crap.
So originally they
took a picture of what the dwarves were supposed to look like.
I can find it, but it was an array. It was the DEI dwarves. Yep. They had to reshoot the film and use CGI dwarves. There you go.
So those guys didn't make it.
No.
That guy's 6'2".
And they were like, what? We just want to work. We're dwarves. So, ho, ho, ho.
I guess, what are we going to have? Like a lesbian, a trans person, someone in a wheelchair, someone of color. Like I don't understand. Why weren't the dwarfs enough? But apparently they were too offensive because the most famous dwarf of all, Peter Dinklage, said something negative about it back in 2022, thus ruining the biggest acting roles the dwarfs had ever seen since the creation of Willy Wonka's Oompa Loompas back in the 1970s.
Insiders said Disney execs were blindsided. Reshoots cost millions, but the damage was already done. Every interview Zegler gave only made it worse, doubling down on the anti-Prince messaging and scolding fans of the original.
Who the hell are you to say all of Andrew's scenes could get cut? Like, who are you?
Oh my God.
Are you Disney? I've read your book, and I have. It's a phenomenal book. You're losing generation of loyal viewers. When you think about Snow White, what is the premise? What is the story?
It's a love story. It's a love story.
It's a dream for a girl to grow up and a man falls in love.
I'm really upset that the biggest theme here is that it's anti-men. She called him a stalker.
On March 25th, 2025, Rachel Ziegler went to see her own movie with a few friends. The theater, nearly empty. Her friends cheered awkwardly as her name popped up. It looked more like a sad birthday party than a movie premiere.
They've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now, and how they had her tweet out like a little, "Yay, Snow White, can't wait, so excited, I love to play her." And she did it and got like millions of views, and they were like, "Good job, Rachel." And then she, like minutes later, followed it up with, "And never forget, free Palestine." And then they had to hire a special media consultant for her to follow her around all the time and make sure she didn't continue shitting on Snow White.
Commentators called it a canary in the coal mine. From Lightyear to Strange World, and now Snow White, Disney's failures are piling up. Executives are facing the fallout, and directors are rethinking modernized remakes. Casting ZEGLER, a talented but polarizing figure, may now be seen as a major risk.
For which movie?
In the end, this wasn't just about dwarfs or princesses. It was about arrogance, politics, and forgetting why people love these stories. Disney tried to rewrite the past and got burned. If they want to win back audiences, they'll have to stop lecturing and start storytelling again. And as for Rachel Ziegler, her Hollywood redemption arc may depend on whether she learns from this public disaster or doubles down.